What's up, board game people? July flew by and it's been the busiest month of the summer yet. I got so many great games and components in over the month, and I really overextended myself on new projects for the month as well. I didn't get much board gaming in, but painting has been a safe and happy place for me. And thankfully it means new content is finally ready to be made in the coming months. The channel is back on track after a little slowdown, and I can't wait to share everything that happened over July with you. This is a long one, but they always are. So before we begin, I don't make any money from game companies for my videos. I make videos to help hobbyists like myself learn, discover, and grow. If I get something wrong or we disagree about something, I'd love to discuss it in the comments. July had some crazy good sales, so that means quite a bit of new stuff hit my doorstep. First, we had the Prime Day sales pop up. I missed a few of the deals I wanted, but I ended up grabbing a starter set for Star Wars Legion and the Star Wars Unlock game box. In case you couldn't tell, I'm a bit of a Star Wars nut. I like Trek too, but Star Wars will always be my first love. Alongside the Prime Day sales, Miniature Market was running their Epic Days sales as well. From them, I grabbed the Sherlock Consulting Detectives Jack the Ripper and West End Adventures that I missed on the Prime Day sale, the Crisis Protocol Crashed Sentinel Terrain Pack, and Dice Forge, which has been living on my wish list for quite some time now. To top it all off, Game Nerds, which I never knew was right down the road from me, ran their Nerd Day sale, and I was able to grab Star Wars Outer Rim from them and pick it up at the warehouse. I started planning on painting Spideman and Captain America from Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I'll be following along with some tutorials on YouTube for a comic-style painting, so I grabbed some new Citadel paints that I couldn't find Reaper matches for. I got some Vallejo matte airbrush varnish as well. I haven't tried airbrush varnish before, but I figured it could be a way to save some serious cash if it works. Has anyone had any experience with this stuff? I got frustrated with the first few of the Citadel paints being so hard to transfer from the paint pot to wet palette, so I grabbed some dropper bottles with ball bearings and some tiny funnels to transfer the paints. Miniature Market, who probably knows me by name already, had an outer space sale, and I was bad, yet again. This time I grabbed Star Wars Legion's Darth Maul and the Probe Droids, and the Clone Captain Rex. I don't even know what armies I want to build yet. I just thought these would be fun to paint. Don't be me. Don't buy dumb stuff. Finally, I got my order of My Father's Work in. This is one heavy box. After a quick bit of help from their customer service, they shipped it a second time and it finally made it to me. This is another game I'd love to get to the table sooner rather than later. This was a crazy month for crowdfunding. I wish I could say I was responsible and that I kept my backing to a bare minimum, but that would be a bald-faced lie. In July, I backed the Legendary Kingdoms Pirates of the Splintered Isles. I've talked about this quite a bit, and I was so glad that my copies of the first two books arrived before the close of the campaign. I dove in and played a little of the first book, and I love it. It's so easy to pick up and put down, and I play a little bit while I wait for my wife to get ready to watch something each night. I backed for the collector's edition of the Pirates of the Splintered Isle book only. I'd love some of the extra fluff, but I don't know that I can spare any cash at this point. I grabbed a pledge for Company of Heroes. I've been into tabletop miniature games before I really got into hardcore board games and such. One thing I always wanted to get into was tabletop modern or even better World War II-ish war games. I've always known the barrier for entry there is high, and I'll be honest, I've always viewed those as an old man's game for quite some time. But heck, I'm not the youngest around, and I really wanted to scratch that itch. So instead of diving headfirst into bolt action, which would have been my game of choice if I decided to commit financial suicide, I decided to see if Company of Heroes would fill that void. The game is based off a video game series I love, and it seems to maintain a lot of the spirit of the video game. I have high hopes that it'll become a favorite at home. I backed at the 4 players bundle, but I'm just kidding myself if I think that won't get bumped to an all-in pledge in the pledge manager. Next up, I jumped in on the Dice Throne Santa vs. Krampus set. Santa vs. Krampus sounds like good themed fun, but to be honest, I wanted to hop in for the discount on the other sets. I grabbed the gameplay pack in the campaign, and since the pledge manager's already opened, I added the pre-painted miniatures as well. The metal dice look amazing, but I just can't justify the cost there. If this is a hit, you can be sure we'll be grabbing the Marvel sets next. Then along came Silver Coin, Age of Monster Hunters. This is a game I really wanted to turn out to be good. I was privately kinda on the fence right up until it launched. I've been following it for so long and I just didn't know if it could ever really live up to the hype that had built up in my head. Well, now I can say that it's even better than I thought it would be. They've been killing it on communication with backers. The game looks amazing and the gameplay is so much more involved than I thought it would be, which is a great thing. I just can't say enough good things about the game and Bonafide Games' support of the campaign. They've started every other day reveals until the end of the campaign, and they've added quite a bit of content throughout. They could use some help on the social stretch goals if you haven't already. Go follow them on Facebook and Board Game Geek. Now I'm secretly waiting with glee for the Necromancer character to unlock. I love Necromancers. I grabbed a pledge for the Burncycle reprint. The campaign was a bit ho-hum, so I couldn't really find a ton of stretch goals to get excited for, but the game itself looks like something my gaming group will love, and I'm so very tempted by those metal minis. Right now, I have an all-gameplay bundle, and I'd probably leave it at that in the PM. The Return of the Dark Tower reprint and expansion campaign is kinda like Burncycle for me. They're doing funding-based reveals, which really makes my skin crawl a bit. And I don't find them particularly exciting either. I was and still am pumped to finally get my hands on this game, but the campaign hasn't been that much fun to be a part of. Part of the crowdfunding experience for me is checking back to see how the campaign's doing, what's been added, and to joke around in the comments. I just don't get that with the reveals they're doing, and I really dislike BackerKit's message board style comment system. Last, there's Euthia Resurrected's campaign. I've already had the base game, and I love it, so this was a must-have for me. I grabbed the returning backers with the Dragon Towers pack for this one. I'm secretly considering grabbing an all-in and selling off the extra stuff. I don't know if the effort's going to be worth it, though. I guess only time will tell. They have some pretty good reveals throughout the campaign, but I'll be honest, I was hoping for a bit more. Even then, I'm still happy to see Dia Games getting a second chance at releasing this beast. This month has been a month of shipping increases, which leads to my rare cancellation or skips. No skips this month to report, but I am trying to get a full refund on Darkest Dungeons and Solomon Kane. I truly despise the way Mythic has and continues to handle the shipping situation for Darkest Dungeon. They issued what sounded like a bit more of a sincere apology, but it was followed 2 lines later by instructions on how to pay your ransom, extortion fees. Crud. You know what I mean. Contributions. I've just lost all the excitement for the project, and if I can argue my way to a full refund with no percentage taken out, I will. I doubt I'll achieve that goal, but it won't stop me from trying. I'm also asking for a refund for the Solomon Kane reprint I ordered through their website because I worry about the future of the company. And I've heard exactly 0 updates since I pre-ordered in March. TGG Games was selling off all-ins for Solomon Kane with minor box damage for an unbelievably low price, so I ordered there. Mythic's own website states that I'm entitled to a full refund if the product is not shipped, so I'm waiting patiently for a reply from the customer service. Let's take a quick run through my cart to see what's changed. This month, the Great Wall has been fully paid, and they're getting ready to close that PM and produce the reprint. Remaining on the list, with no new news, is Divinus, Limbo 1.5, Teburu, Anastyr, and Unsettled. I have added the Lords of Ragnarok and Dawn of Madness to my hypothetical cart. I'm hoping Lords of Ragnarok will be a good Ankh replacement at lower player counts, and I just have too much FOMO for Dawn of Madness to pass it up. I love the dark theme and the minis from the game. I just hope the narrative and gameplay live up to the expectations. Painting has been a refuge for me this month. More on that later, but I actually have found a good painting groove and I'm trying to stick with it as long as I can. This month, I finally put the absolute finishing touches on my Warhammer 40k Imperium minis. I'm finishing up through issue 8 and will be pushing out a new video on that soon. I also started planning and collecting paints to paint up my Marvel Crisis Protocol Spider-Man and Captain America. Now, in actuality, Spider-Man is done, but he was wholly painted in August, so he'll get a full reveal in next month's review video. If you follow me on Instagram, you can get a sneak peek of the finished product in the comic book style now. I'm following along with Epic Duck Studios to learn the comic book painting style and paint my minis. You can find his channel linked in the description. He has a ton of great painting tutorials, and I really think he nails the style. Finding time to actually game between everything going on in my life and running this YouTube channel can be a bit of a challenge, but I do actually play games. So this month I've been playing through the first book of the Legendary Kingdom series, called The Valley of Bones. So far it's great, the writing is on par or better than I expected, and I'm really loving the story and the amount of choices you're presented with. I've been reading the rulebook for Destinies, and we plan to start playing the game sometime this next week if possible. I have all the expansions for the game, and we'll be playing through all of them eventually, except for the Bound by Fate 2v2 expansion, which I'm leaving in shrink wrap and will sell with the all-in collection I have once we complete the game. I did a bad thing and decided to finally pull the trigger and find myself a PlayStation 5. It took 2 weeks or so, but I finally got my hands on one, so I can finally start playing through their list of exclusives. I'm primarily an Xbox gamer and have been for years. I truly despise the PlayStation's user interface. But they have some amazing games that I've wanted to play for quite some time. This month I finished Spideman. It was absolutely worth the wait, and I'm so glad I played it on the PS5 instead of my old PS4. The graphics were great, the story, while a bit predictable, was pretty good, and it was just long enough that it didn't become too much of a collection slog by the end. I've started the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is absolutely magical for someone who grew up on the game. I love how they expanded the story and the world building so much, and I can't wait to play more when I have time. Now this is a list that just grows and grows. One day I'll find a bargain on these and wipe some of them off the list. This month there really is no change except the addition of Zombie Carnival 2nd edition to the list. I'd love to get my hands on a copy and play around with it. I really don't know if I'll like it, but it looks like fun. I'm still searching for deals on Stars of Akarios, Bloodborne, Conan, Hate, and the Robinson Crusoe Collector's Edition. There is one notable game room update this month. We needed to take a quick trip to IKEA, so I snagged myself a Deltoff display case while we were there to protect my miniatures from all the little house panthers that keep running off with bits and pieces. I'm still moving everything from the Shelf of Shame into it, and I'll be adding 4 more shelves with a kit from Etsy when I get some time. We finally made it to the channel updates. This month we hit another huge milestone of 2,500 hours watched. This is simply amazing, and I cannot thank you all enough. I'm so lucky to have so many awesome viewers. Hopefully the channel will just keep getting better and better for you. I've been working hard on clearing up and improving the quality of the audio from my mic. I use a Shure SM7B, and I've added a cloud lifter to help provide a little extra gain that was badly needed. I recently added the pop filter back in, and I really need to learn to EQ myself better. I'm a complete novice when it comes to all this, so I'm just fiddling around in the dark for the most part. Hopefully everything is sounding better, and please bear with me while I get it perfected. After my short break when my father-in-law visited, I've been trying to get back to posting on Instagram with a semi-normal cadence. That's something I'm going to have to continue to work on, but I'm back to posting at least once a week there. The last update I have is more of another thank you to you all. I received several comments in the past month about how people are coming to our channel to get their game news. Some have even said that we're the last good source. I can't thank you all enough for the feedback. Any feedback, good or bad, helps me improve the channel, and I love hearing that I'm at least doing something right. If anyone's willing to share what they like or they don't like about the channel, I'm always eager to listen. I can't always make every change, but I try to be mindful of any criticism or advice that I'm given. I'm working on growing the channel in both viewers, but more importantly, in the types of content I offer. I want to offer unboxings and reviews. I'd love to have more informational pieces too. I'd even like to get some more coverage of tabletop games. These are things that I've thought of or played around with, but I'm purposefully taking my time and going slow. My core will always be coverage of the hobby, retail, and crowdfunding news. Other content types will hopefully just add to how helpful the channel really is. My mission setting out was to make a fun, sometimes entertaining, and educational channel that will help people learn more about and enjoy our hobby more. I get the educator bone from my mother, who was a teacher for over 60 years. I guess that brings me to a new section for these videos, pulling back the curtain. I know some people don't give a hoot about who I am or the man behind the curtain, and that's perfectly fine. Truly aren't going to hurt my feelings. Use a timestamp and skip ahead if you like. No harm done. For those of you who might be wondering, I thought I'd share a bit about my current circumstances and some things I've alluded to in past videos. I'll try and keep these brief and not too often. This isn't me complaining or fishing for sympathy, it's just me sharing a bit. Many of you are off running around Gen Con and hopefully having the time of your lives this weekend. I've said a few times that in the future I'll be there too. Gen Con is on my bucket list and has been for 10 years now. And now that I'm into board gaming more, it's really moved to the top. The reason I can't be there this year is because I have far too many responsibilities at home for the time being. I'm a caregiver for my 85-year-old mother. I was adopted as a baby by a single parent. My mother raised me, and I'm the only family she has left. 5 years ago, my mother had a stroke and fell, hitting her head and causing her to go blind and causing acute dementia to set in. Teaching didn't pay well throughout her career, and she doesn't have the money for a memory care home, and neither do I. So her care is left to me. She's been on hospice for the last 6 months, and her health is ever so slowly failing. While I'm married, my wonderful wife wouldn't hesitate to let me go running off to Gen Con for a week. I could never do that to her. I know the cost and the toll of taking care of her, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So, if I don't show up to events and such, hopefully you'll understand. I'm living vicariously through all of you who have the privilege of going. One day I'll be there too, just not this year. So, we don't keep moving forward without some goals set for ourselves. This month, I'm going to continue working on creating better and more content on Instagram. I'm also setting the goal of getting the dang Warhammer Imperium video out. If I don't get it out in the wild, I'll never be able to get feedback and start working to make it even better. Along those lines, I'm starting to branch out a bit, and I'm starting to offer even more types of content. This month, you'll have your regular weekly news videos dropping on Sunday or Monday each week. I'll be covering any campaigns that catch my eye, such as Kinfire Chronicles and Nanolith coming up this month. I'm also going to be putting out my Warhammer Imperium video this month. You heard it here, now I have to do it. After this one, I'm switching to only covering 2 issues at a time, which should allow me to iterate on the video format faster and keep the episodes coming more quickly. We still have a Descent Legends of the Dark review coming up, and the Ankh unboxing should come down the line soon. Finally, what am I excited for that's coming up? Well, this month, let's go with one coming soon and another that's still a ways off. First, my most anticipated for the month is Nanolith. I'm excited to finally get a sample of the narrative that the campaign will revolve around and see what game systems are at work. Just recently, CGS announced their next title to hit crowdfunding. Fresh off the massive Chronicles of Drunagor, we're going to get Dante, the Invasion of Hell. Centered around Dante's Inferno, we'll be delving the circles of hell and the horrors that await. So, this has been a particularly long one. I don't intentionally make these longer and longer. Honestly, the longer they are, the harder it is to come up with visuals for. I appreciate all the kind words and the massive comments and chatter on all the videos. You guys really are the best. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you haven't already. Feel free to hop in Discord, linked in the video description below, and say hi. And we'll be back very soon with some news for you. Have a great night, and play something fun.